In today's video, let's talk about how SteamOS is finally ready for any one Steam machine. And yes, Valve is finally working on NVIDIA support, and it might even be here by the end of the year. And after that, we now know the original price Valve was targeting for the Steam machine, and I want to talk about it because it's pretty interesting. How's it going? Hope you're having a great week playing a ton of video games. It's me, Jimmy Champagne, and yes, I'm in the same clothes because it's still June 22nd. I got through my videos pretty quickly today. There's a ton of news, so I figured I'd jump back on camera. I have a feeling there's going to be a few more videos this week, so if you want to see them as soon as I post them, subscribe, set your notifications to all, and if you want to see me talk about games I'm playing and games I'm excited for, follow my Instagram, Champagne Ready, which is linked in the description. People seem to really like it so far, so you can get in on the ground floor. But with the intro out of the way, let's talk about how SteamOS is finally ready for prime time, and I couldn't be more excited. So in the chaos surrounding the price, release date, reservation system, all that stuff that Valve announced today, they also did an interview with The Verge about SteamOS, and apparently with SteamOS 3.8, they're giving gamers the green light to install it on pretty much any PC out there. They actually say it'll work on pretty much any PC you can build. They don't even say pretty much. They say any PC you can build, but it doesn't work on any PC you can build because it doesn't work with NVIDIA quite yet. We'll talk about that in a sec. But the reason SteamOS 3.8 is a milestone release is because A, it's obviously shipping with the Steam machine, which is a desktop PC that boots into game mode, but B, in addition to supporting modern AMD CPUs like the 9800X3D, which is what I have, they're also supporting Intel chips now, which covers the vast majority of what people have in their systems. And if you want to go out of your way to build a SteamOS PC, as someone who's used it for around a year at this point, I think it's been ready. And now with SteamOS 3.8, it's more ready than ever. It really does work as a just console style interface for your TV. And even things like scaling to the right resolution work fine. And you can even get the FSR4 upgrades if you've got a newer AMD GPU that are coming to RDNA 3 cards later this year, I want to say, just by typing in a launch command, which is FSR4 upgrade. So like if a game natively uses FSR3, you just put in that launch command, or you can use Proton GE34 and you'll get the same effect. FSR4 will work flawlessly on newer cards that support it out of the box. And just to prove I'm not blowing smoke up your ass here, I put like over 500 or 600 hours into that PC on my TV, and I never turn it off. I put it in sleep mode with the Steam controller. It wakes up flawlessly with the Steam controller ever since I upgraded to the 3.8 preview, and it really does work like a console. Even things down to like the game recording that's built into Steam. It's my de facto way to record B-roll now, and there's this great app I found called Pineapple that exports videos so much quicker than the native Steam built-in recorder that it really does do everything I want it to. I even installed Blender on it, and with that GPU, even though it's SteamOS, which is built for gaming, everything absolutely rips. And I was pretty shocked to see that you can actually add Blender to your Steam library and download it through Steam, and it'll update like a Steam game. So even for desktop PC apps, it's been flawless for me. And honestly, as someone who's been told a million times that I should just use Bazite or CachyOS, I've had the least problems with SteamOS. I started out with Bazite. I didn't love it. It was fine. It just had more issues than I wanted to deal with. I was able to extract the repair image for SteamOS 3.8 dot whatever and just install that. I've been on that ever since, never had a single issue. So as far as I'm concerned, as someone who's used it for hundreds of hours, not only is it ready now, it's been ready for a long time. But with that being said, I think Valve might have jumped the gun a little bit when they said you can install it on any PC you put together, because if you've got an NVIDIA card, you're not going to get a good experience right now, even if you're on preview or bleeding edge, like the absolute latest editions of SteamOS that you can download. But that's okay, because Valve has a growing team inside their studio who are hard at work building out driver support for NVIDIA GPUs. And on top of that, they're not just doing it themselves. They've got full support from NVIDIA. They said they've got a great relationship with them. So it seems like while this won't be available like tomorrow or maybe even in the next month, it really does look like it might be available by the end of the year. And once that happens, Microsoft should be scared. That's all I'm going to say. I don't think Windows is like dramatically worse or anything, but once you give people the option with an NVIDIA GPU and all the power that comes along with it to use a gaming focused operating system that isn't just built on top of a regular operating system that's built for work like Windows, I think a lot more people are going to be excited for that unless they play multiplayer games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, or any of the very few that are left that don't allow you to use their anti-cheat with SteamOS. My perfect world scenario would obviously be dual booting with SteamOS and Windows, just because I do play a lot of multiplayer games. That's how I keep up with my friends. None of my friends live in Michigan. A lot of my friends are spread all over the United States, so we hop on the multiplayer games at night and just use it as a chat room. And just a few of the ones I play, like Battlefield specifically, do not work on SteamOS. Unfortunately, they say if that does come, it's going to be a while. They're obviously focused on NVIDIA GPU support. And if you ask me to rank what I'd like to come first between NVIDIA GPU support and dual booting easily, I know you can do it. It's just kind of a little bit more difficult than I want to really attempt right now. I would choose NVIDIA support all day long, because I feel like that's really the biggest hurdle Valve has after anti-cheat, and that's resolving itself, which just leaves NVIDIA support as the biggest hurdle they have to achieve. Because even though AMD is growing, even though the 9070 XT is a great card, most people use NVIDIA. You really can't get around that. And even though the 9070 XT is like the top end AMD card, it's basically equivalent with the RTX 5070. So for people like me who have a 5080, or people who are able to absolutely ball out for a 5090, I think it's going to be sick to be able to take advantage of that top level performance with SteamOS, because you also get a pretty decent FPS jump from SteamOS over something like Windows, even if you're using Xbox mode. And the reason I think that's good is because it provides competition for Windows, it provides competition for Xbox, it lights that fire even harder under their butt to get them working to make Windows even better. Because even though everyone loves to hate on Xbox mode, I have been using it with my ROG Xbox Ally X to take advantage of some cross-buy games that have saved support that don't work with Steam, like Ninja Gaiden 4, for example. And it's not as good as SteamOS, and I think it has a long way before it has any parity with it. But in terms of being able to navigate a Windows PC fully with a controller and access all of your games from one app, it's doing a decent job, and I want to see them continue forward with that. And I feel like a big shot in the arm for them to continue with that would be Valve finally figuring out NVIDIA support for not only SteamOS but Linux as a whole, because everything Valve makes for Linux, like Proton for example, they don't just keep locked down to their own ecosystem, they expand it out to everything, and I think that's really damn cool. So yeah, SteamOS 3.8 looks like it's ready for prime time. I would expect them to have a website or something ready to go soon, because right now you've got to get it from the back end of Steam, and you've got to click through, like, they look like IP addresses until you find one that has the right zip file that you're actually looking for. And if you're giving people the green light, it's just from helping people do this on their own PCs. So far, the data shows me that right now it's too big of a hurdle to cross, even for people who know how to work on PCs and aren't obsessed with SteamOS like I am. They want it to be easy, simple. So having a website where you can just download it, I think that's going to go a long way, but it really is exciting. So that about covers it for the main topic of today's video. But for those who stick around till the end, let's talk about the original price of the Steam Machine, because it's pretty interesting, and it's going to be interesting for longtime viewers of the channel. So essentially what happened is Valve sat down with IGN and did an interview, and they wouldn't say exactly how much the Steam Machine price went up since November, but they said it's basically in line with what you saw with the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck went up around 35 to 36% depending on the model. So dropping the price of the Steam Machine from $1049 by 35% gets you exactly to $749, which immediately made me laugh, because back in November when this thing was announced to begin with, I know there were people out there who were hoping for like $399, $499, these absolutely dirt cheap prices. But when Valve said add up the parts and what you get to is basically what we're aiming for, I went through the work, I found very similar parts, and what I got to was $735, I want to say. So I called it an even $750 because they work in 50s or hundreds. You know, I was like, $750 sounds like a good price. And then we got that data from Tom from Moore's Law is Dead, where he added up the BOM of the parts. So like if you were buying them from the factory, got to $425, and I was like, oh, maybe it is realistic that they'll get to $500. But I always had $750 in my mind as a good middle ground starting point for an entry-level gaming PC. Now that seems downright cheap, not even just for what they're charging for the Steam Machine, but for what they're charging for the PS5, the Switch 2, the Xbox Series X. Like, everything has increased in price exorbitantly. So now that we have that context, it's like, man, we almost had this thing for $750, and I feel like that would have been a great impulse buy for a lot of people who either already have a PC and want one they can plug in under their TV. It also would have been great for people who have Steam libraries and might have also bought a PS5 or Xbox and like moved away from PC for a little bit, but were interested in coming back maybe for a few games. Like, it's a good add-on device. It's not good for the people who want this thing to just replace their console and get them to leave Sony or Microsoft behind. I think there are a very small amount of people who might do that still, but I think at the price they're charging, that ship has sailed. I think really at the end of the day, I'm the target audience for the Steam machine, someone who's deeply invested in the Valve and Steam and SteamOS ecosystem and just wants to see what Valve hardware can actually do when it's all working together, because we also have the Steam Frame coming. The Steam Deck is going to connect to this thing in some way. Like, there's a lot that's going to be pretty cool when it comes to being in that Valve hardware ecosystem. But going back to the first main topic of this video, you don't have to be in the Steam ecosystem. Like, no one's forcing you to buy a Steam machine or a Steam Deck to take advantage of SteamOS and a lot of the best stuff it offers. If you have an ROG Xbox Ally X, you're going to get great performance out of a really good handheld. And at a price of $1,000, I wouldn't recommend it over the Steam machine, but I'd recommend it to someone who's in the market for a handheld right now. And if you have your own custom AMD PC or even an AMD GPU paired with an Intel CPU, you could build a really good Steam machine right now, even though you're going to lose out on a lot of the extra features and the small form factor. So it seems like while Valve does make really good hardware, they're never going to be at the scale level that they would need to be at to actually be able to hit these dirt cheap prices without subsidizing. And as they said, subsidizing means introducing subscription services and all the stuff that makes PC better than console for people who actually play on PC. So yeah, I think things are kind of working out the best way they possibly can. And as I said in my last video, if there's any company out there who will eventually lower the price once RAM and storage prices start to fall, it's Valve. Like, maybe Nintendo will, because they're underpowered and they need as many consoles out there as they can get because they rely so heavily on first-party games. But if I had to bet on one company doing that, it's not Sony, it's not Microsoft, it's Valve. I know there's a lot of people who like to look at everything the worst way possible, prescribe malice to as many companies and even people as they can. That just simply isn't me. I've never been like that. I like to see the good in anything I can. And just going off of Valve's history, they've always done the right thing when it's possible. So I don't think they woke up and just decided to screw everyone on the price of the Steam machine. So hopefully it comes down in price eventually, but it would have been great to see it at $750. Either way, I'm in for whatever email I get first. So I really hope it's the 2 terabyte without controller. I just don't want to have to go through the trouble of finding another SSD. 2 terabytes should be more than enough, especially with the SD card that's in my Steam Deck. I have 2 controllers, so I don't need another one. But if I get the email for the 2 terabyte with controller and that's what comes first, I gotta buy it. I want to make a video. Everyone's been asking about the Viper video. I'm saving it for the Steam machine review, so there's your reveal at the end of the video. But yeah, really interesting week. I'm excited overall. I'm happy. I'm excited. I feel for the people who wanted this thing to be $500 or $600, but as people are quickly going to learn, that is just not realistic for at least the next couple of years. And I am really curious about where the Helix and the PS6 are going to fall. I think we're in for sticker shock city for the next few years of announcements. So I think my advice would be, if you want a Steam machine, try to get it at launch, because if it's not the cheapest it's ever going to be, it's the cheapest it's going to be for a long time. And there's a lot of great PC games coming out, and there's a huge backlog of PC games you'll have to work through, because PC is where it's at. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you in this video. Like I said, this is going to be a big week here on the channel in terms of uploads, so subscribe, set your notifications to all, and thank you for the support on the Two Host podcast with Ray. We will be doing it every week now because you guys like it so much, and I really appreciate it because it's fun to talk to him on camera. So it'd suck if no one watched it and everyone hated it. But anyway, guys, as always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on.